Thank you, Father Jeff. Good morning, brothers and sisters.
Morning.
Oh, I just want to share a few things of what God has done in my life. And it really started with my son, Ian. He brought me to the Bible. And it was one of the best things that happened in my life. But as I go through life, the things that have happened, I think it's important that I share with each of you God's grace. Because God's grace is definitely more than we can ask for or imagine. It was a couple of years ago, I went to Walmart and I bought some stuff, paid, and I left. Went to another store. And when I got to that store, I realized I didn't have my debit card. My debit card was in my phone. So of course I didn't have my phone. Said, okay, well the only place I went was Walmart, so I went back to Walmart. Went back to the area where I bought the stuff and looked, nothing. Went to the cash register, she said nothing was brought in. Went back and I looked again, nothing. Decided, okay, I'll go to the car. Went and looked in the car, and there was nothing. And I went back to the cash register, and she said, no, we don't have anything. And I remember breaking down in tears. I went back to the car. And guys, I went back to the car, and as I was in the car, I heard a voice behind me said, are you Patricia Allen? I didn't look around before I broke down in tears. And the gentleman said to me, I found your phone in the parking lot. In the parking lot? My phone? Who are you? When I looked at him, he said, I found your phone. He said, I'd like to give you a gift. And I reached in my purse and I took out $100. And he said, no, I don't need your money. Give it to someone that needed it. And I sat in that car and I asked God, I said, so where did he come from? How did he know that I lost my phone? That was God. That had nothing to do with me. That was God sending someone so that I can see his grace, so that I can see what God is all about. I remember driving home and just giving God thanks for his grace, for his miracle and his blessing. And when I got home, I realized that God lives everywhere and he can do anything and everything. And that was definitely a moment for me. But the other moment that I want to share with you guys more than anything else is the 17th of December last year, when I fell asleep on the highway on the 401. I fell asleep on the 401. I had just left my doctor's office. And I called Ian to keep my company, to go home, because this was Don Mills. Coming from Mississauga, and the traffic was bad. And I didn't get Ian. And I called my sister-in-law, and I didn't get either one of them. And I drove. And the next thing I knew, I must have gone sound asleep. And when I woke up, it was because I had hit the car. And guys, when I woke up, I was not afraid. I got up, I stopped. And at that time, they had just done something new to the road, so there was a part that I could have pulled off. And I pulled off, and the car pulled off also. And he said to me, what happened? I said, I don't know. He said, oh, well, you damaged my car. And the best part was this man was about this small. So he was a dwarf. He was very small. There was two of them in the car, and he said, "You damaged my car." I said, "It's okay." He said, "Well, we gotta do information, we gotta share insurance." I said, "Okay, no problem." He said, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yes." We shared information, and guys, when I looked, I took pictures. I looked at his car. There was no damage that I caused. There was no damage to my car. There was not even a scratch. We exchanged information, and I said to him, "When are you gonna call me?" He said, "Tomorrow." I said, "Thank you." And I drove off, and I called Ian, and Ian was like, "What?" He said, "Ian, I'm talking to you because I'm alive." I said, "Yes, I fell asleep and I don't know what happened." And as I was driving, I said to God, I said, "Father, I need to hear from this man today." And guys, as I got home, Ian said, "But Mom, there was no damage to your car." I said, "No, I know." I said, "But whatever it is, I'll pay for it." Guys, that phone call came to me at 4:30 that same day. And the gentleman said to me, "Oh, the damage is $1,200. I said, "Okay, I'll meet you, you'll pay." He said, "Will you come alone?" I said, "Yes, I will." I got to his home, and my lawyer's son wrote up a note to say, damage is paid and covered. And I took that note with me. And that gentleman signed off on that note. He said, "Well, if you're going to give cash, I'll take $1,000. And I give him that $1,000. But guys, at that moment in my car, God could have touched me and said, "Wake up, you're going to hit that car." He didn't. I know why. God wanted me to see His grace. He wanted me to see that He's with us no matter where we go or what we do. He wanted me to know that He will never leave our side. So He allowed me to hit that car. And He allowed no damage to happen because I didn't damage that car. But I had to pay for hitting it. God's grace is bigger than anything we can ask for or imagine. And last year, July 16th, I promise I won't be long, Father Jeff. July 16th, the flood came. And the basement got flooded. And everything in it, everything, we've been there for 23 years. And everything in that basement got soaked, damaged. And there was a bin of Christmas decorations. When I looked at it after the restorators had brought out the stuff and they left it, and I looked at that bin had all the Christmas stuff in it. And when I looked at it, I got emotional. And I started to cry. And I remember falling back, and Ian was there, and he grabbed me and said, "Mom," and put me to sit. And at that moment, God said to me, "So, you're gonna cry at what's in this bin? And you could have lost your life." And I looked at the guys and I said, "Take it all." They said, "You're not going to go through it." I said, "No." And they took the entire bin. That afternoon, they cleared out our basement. They emptied everything, and there was a bin on the driveway that took everything that got soaked in it. And I got into my basement and I stood there and I said, "Father, thank you. Thank you, thank you," because my basement, all it had was never completed. All that was there is the four walls, nothing else. Everything was gone. And guys, God's grace is today. It's just one or two couch in my basement with a bed in it, nothing else. But you know what? You know what God said? "What I take away from you, I'll give you even more." And now when I walk in my basement, it's the best it's ever looked. Guys, I want to leave you with one thing. And God said He'll take care of you. He does that. And He take care of me on the 17th of December on the highway. And He has been doing that ever since. And every time I slip, because I'm not perfect. Ian pulls me up. And I told him, I said, I have this pain in my shoulder, the end. I said, I have this pain in my shoulder. And it said, oh, talk to your pain. And Ian looked at me and he said, talk to God. Don't talk to your pain. Guys, thank you for listening. And remember, God's grace is bigger and better than anything you can ask for. Thank you.